Good evening and welcome everybody to this regular meeting of the Northside Board of Trustees. Before calling this meeting to order, the board would like to take just a moment to briefly review some of the rules for conducting our meeting. The order of business is set out for us in the agenda. Now, one item you may notice on the agenda is the consent agenda. This item includes any items that are considered routine and or are recurring nature. All the items you see listed under the consent agenda will be acted upon in one motion. If there is a consent agenda item which anyone would like to address, please sign up to speak to that item, and we'll pull it from the consent motion and discuss it separately. The purpose of our meeting is to conduct board business, and for that reason, it is held in public. It is not a public forum. However, we do provide the opportunity for audience participation. If there's anyone here who would like to address the board, an agenda item or citizen be heard portion of the agenda, we ask that you register on the sign-up sheet located at the entrance to this room. This is so we don't overlook anyone who would like to speak to the board. And when we get to that part, we'll review the rules for addressing the board for the meeting. All right, is there anybody else here that would like that opportunity to sign up? Okay. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and officially call the meeting to order. Please stand and bow your heads as Trustee Saldana leads us in the invocation and pledges. Oh, I changed it. So I said, all right. Yeah, you got it, David. I'm sorry. David leads us in the invocation and pledges of allegiance.
Almighty and merciful God, we ask your guidance and blessing upon this board, students, parents, patrons, teachers, and administrators, as we are assembled here this evening in the common pursuit of this great nation's wealth, our children. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, thank you, David. Okay, if it's okay with the board, we'd like to go ahead and change one item in the order we have for it. We want to do the recognition first. Is the board okay with doing that? Everybody's okay? Okay.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh, not that one.
No,
You go second.
you just saw
I'm
my
sorry.
happy face.
Yeah, I did. I know it.
Oh,
No.
that one.
I'm
I got
sorry.
it.
Yeah, well, second. Okay.
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 No, I
All right.
We just love
Oh,
recognition.
okay. Everybody loves our board meetings. Okay, we'll go ahead and start with this recognition first and
Okay.
turn over to Superintendent.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, members of the board, good evening. We have a very special guest with us this evening, and it is not Dr. Brian Woods. However, this is his last official meeting, I believe. We have our very own District 26 Senator Jose Menendez, who's going to present some awards to both Dr. Woods and I believe the Board of Trustees. And Senator Menendez, thank you for being with us. Know that you're incredibly busy as well with another special session being called this afternoon. We appreciate all you do to support
Thank you.
Northside ISD and public education.
Thank you, Dr. Kraft. I appreciate your recognition of the second called special session that the governor called today. So it was a good news that it starts tomorrow and not today because I didn't want to miss today. First of all, before I jump into the recognition and the resolution that was signed by every legislator who represents Northside for Dr. Woods in recognition of his tenure here at Northside, I wanted to express the certificate of recognition to the board of Northside on being selected, not only being selected a finalist for the Outstanding School Board as a part of the 2023 HEB Excellence in Education Awards Program, which is when we started this certificate, but I want to congratulate you all on actually winning the excellent 2023 HEB Excellence as the Outstanding School Board of the Year. And so we have this, and we're going to have a flag. We're going to have an updated certificate for the board because of your hard work. And, you know, this board, Northside, has a long history of representing, well, of being a leader, a bellwether for all the school districts in Austin. And many times, so many of those superintendents that I've had the pleasure of working with have really helped set a guiding star for so many of our school districts. And I'll tell you that when we get to Austin, and so many people want to beat up on public education, want to say all of these things that are negative and that are untrue, it is such a source of pride for me to be able to point to Northside. And let me tell you about a school district that knows how to get things done. Fast growth, one of the largest in the state, if not the fourth, if not the largest, with over 100,000 students. Y'all have been building elementary school after elementary school, all the planning that goes into it, everything that you're doing, and not forgetting the inner city part of your district, which means so much to me. And so, I love it when I see those bonds, and I see that your bonds represent every corner of the district, that no one's left out, that while you're building new, you're also refurbishing the existing. And so that doesn't happen by accident. That's why you won the Outstanding Board of the Year. And because you're an outstanding board, you also, in my opinion, have had outstanding superintendents. And so congratulations, Dr. Kraft. You will prove yourself, I'm sure, to be another outstanding superintendent in Northside. But you obviously have big shoes to fill. And I will, just for briefly, we got the abridged version because this resolution could be 3 pages long, but I told them to make it a little shorter. And so if you indulge me, I want to read a little bit about Dr. Woods. And it says here, State of Texas, whereas for 3 decades, Dr. Brian T. Woods, Superintendent of Northside Independent School District, has distinguished himself through his exceptional contributions to the district. And whereas Brian Woods began his career with Northside as an educator at Marshall High School in 1992, where, if I'm not mistaken, you had Will Hurd as one of your students.
But he was on my academic path.
There you go, on your academic decathlon, and now he's running for president, another source of pride for Northside. And over the years, he taught social studies, U.S. government, economics, and U.S. history. And in 1998, he helped establish O'Connor High School, where he served as assistant principal and went on to become vice principal and later principal at Clark High School. He accepted the position of assistant superintendent for secondary administration in 2006. In 2009, he was named deputy superintendent for administration, and he assumed his current role as superintendent in 2012. And whereas a leader in his profession, Dr. Woods is a former president of the Texas Association of School Board Administrators, and he has been involved in the Go Public Steering Committee, the board of P16 Plus Council of Greater Bexar County, and the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce. In addition, he served as an officer of the Texas School Alliance. And whereas among his many honors, Dr. Woods was named the 2018 Superintendent of the Year by the Texas Association of School Boards. He holds a bachelor's degree in political science from the University of Texas at Austin, as well as a master's degree and a doctorate in educational leadership from UT San Antonio. And whereas through his vision, leadership, and commitment to excellence, Brian Woods has greatly benefited Northside ISD and made a positive difference in the lives of countless young Texans, and he may indeed reflect with pride on all that he has accomplished. And now, therefore, be it resolved that Dr. Brian T. Woods is to be commended for his years of service to Northside Independent School District and extended best and sincere wishes. And it's signed by Senator Campbell, Senator Gutierrez, myself, Senator Menendez, Representative Bernal, Cortez, Larson, Martinez-Fisher, Lopez, and Ina Minjares. These were at the time when he had served his 30 years of service. And all of that's impressive and it's wonderful, but one of the things that I've learned about Dr. Woods, a couple of things, is when we talk about in Austin about pay raises sometimes, and they talk about just pay raises to teachers, he said, I can't just run a school with just teachers. Teachers are important, but I need bus drivers, I need cafeteria workers, I need janitors, I need everyone to run that school. And that's the kind of commitment that means a lot to me. You can't leave anybody behind. And, and the fact that when y'all go to decide whether or not you're going to close school for the day, which is a hardship on a lot of people because they have to go to work, that he and a team of his leaders would assemble here around 4 a.m. to drive the roads to see whether or not you need to. That's servant leadership. That's the kind of thing that doesn't get headlines, doesn't get talked about, but that's the kind of thing that matters because it makes a difference in people's lives. And it's not just the students, but their parents. And they're paying the bill. And that's why people move to be inside Northside School District, because they get a good education in a district that cares about them. So I'm sorry that I've taken up so much of your time, but I wanted to make sure that after so many years of service to Northside, that he was recognized, not just because he held the title of superintendent, but because he led with public and led with commitment and led from the heart. So This gavel is an official gavel made by some Texans who are doing their time in service to the state of Texas. It's an official gavel. Can't buy it. And it says, Dr. Brian Woods, retiring superintendent of Northside Independent School District, in honor and appreciation of your leadership and dedication to our educational community over the last 31 years. And it's the sign here, Senator Jose Menendez. We don't just give these out lightly, Dr. Woods, but I tell you what, this is not something that's being given, it's something that has been earned. Thank you for your service.
All right.
Let's take pictures right here with the board behind us. You could just email her.
We're wildly independent women. Oh, that's true. It's the fitting effects. They also do it on the
These sessions don't do any good for my waistline.
I'll just say thanks first to Senator Menendez and all the members of the delegation. It's been a pleasure to work with this delegation for a long time now. And I'll say thanks to this board and previous trustees who served before you all. You don't do this job well without a really supportive board, and this has certainly been the case, as he eloquently indicated, for many, many years. So Godspeed to this board and to Dr. Kraft for your continued leadership, and I will certainly be paying attention to what's going on. Have a little bit of a vested interest here, so thanks to y'all for taking the time to do this. And because my seat is in the back, I may find the door. Y'all have a good meeting, and I hope you're not here too late. Thanks.
Congratulations again to Dr. Woods. Every honor and recognition he gets, he definitely deserves. We just can't thank him enough for all he's done for all of us. And thank you again, Senator Menendez. As you can see, Senator Menendez not only takes the time to recognize those things that we do within education and within Northside, but he's always been a great partner for all of us for decades now, and his commitment and support is well known. So thank you for taking this time again.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, and if it's okay with the board, let's go ahead and do another recognition given the reaction. And I turn over to Trustee Harrell. Trustee Harrell?
Thank you all, and thank you, my fellow board members, for giving me this privilege and honor at this time. So we had a senator, and we had a superintendent, and so now we have a queen. So I think it's only fitting that we honor, our school district honors, and this is Renee Victoria Vasquez, and not only is she the most incredible young woman spreading the word about mindfulness and mental health to young people. She visited so many of our schools on her own time. She's in law school right now, but made the time to be the Reina de la Feria de las Flores. Right? Did I say it right? Yes. And she has been, she was a Leon Springs student. She was a Rawlinson Middle School student, graduated from Communication Arts at Taft, was in band at Taft, the Taft band, went to University of Texas in Austin, go Horns, and yes, and was in the band there, did all kinds of incredible service projects there, and then got into SMU Law School. So she's a third-year law student, right? Maybe we can twist her arm to be an educational lawyer and take care of public schools. But anyway, it's just, I got to hear her speak to young people, and her message is so incredible that I wanted the board to indulge us just for a few minutes while she gives her message, but she also has some gifts too. And then we have a certificate for you, Renee, too. So if you don't mind coming up here real quick.
Yes.
And her parents are here. This is Sylvia and Rudy Vasquez. Sylvia was a teacher at Leon Springs and a longtime Northside family, and their other two children graduated from Northside. So they've got Northside in their blood. So Renee, Queen Renee.
Thank you guys for letting me be here. So I did graduate from Comarts. I've always been a Northside. I started working this year with the Ray Faya Scholarship Foundation. So we raised over $500,000 worth of scholarships for students here in San Antonio to go to a 2-year, 4-year university, or they can also go to a trade school now. We're all really passionate about education and just making sure that everybody has all the opportunities to go to school. And so part of that was us going to almost 100 different schools here, Northside, all of the different school districts, to make sure that we spread our message to them, tell us about their scholarships, but they're really little. So a lot of them are babies. And we also just want to really inspire them to stay in school and let them know how important education is. So I like to bring this with me. This is Buzzy. And this was my little bee that I used to bring, if everybody wants to see her.
Yeah.
I used to tell the kids a story about Buzzy, and I would tell them how Buzzy was a super hard worker, just like all of they were. And I like to tell them how Buzzy had to fly back and forth to the garden every single day to make lots of honey for her hive. And sometimes when she was a little bit stressed out because she had too much work to do, things were just really loud and buzzy, and she needed to take a minute to stop and smell the flowers. So Buzzy likes to sit on a flower petal, and she likes to close her eyes, and she likes to take 3 deep breaths in. Then she tells herself, I am smart enough, I am strong enough, and I can do it. And then after that, Buzzy's ready to get up and do whatever she needs to do for the day. So I like to have all of us do it together. And this is what I like to do at the elementary schools too. So everybody here, I want us all to close our eyes. And I want us to pretend we're just like Buzzy, and we're sitting on a flower petal. And I want you all to think about something that you need to get done today, whether it's at home, at work, or at school. Okay, now I want everybody to take 3 deep breaths in together, and I'll tell you when. So we're all gonna breathe in, breathe out. We're all gonna breathe in, breathe out. And one more time, we're all gonna breathe in, and we're gonna breathe out. Okay, now everybody keep your eyes closed for just a little bit longer, boys and girls. And I'm gonna have you guys still thinking of that thing that you really need to do. I want you all to repeat after me. Say, I am smart enough.
I am smart enough.
Say, I am strong enough.
I am strong enough.
And say, I can do it.
I can do it.
Okay, you guys can open your eyes. So thank you for doing that. And I hope that next time you guys are stressed at home or at school, you guys can think about Buzzy and you can remember to stop and smell the flowers too. So Fiesta just recently ended, but I'm still going to be the queen till October. So we have a lot of fun things we do. We still meet with kids, and it's so much fun. So thank you guys for letting me be here. Thank you, Dr. Haro, for always being a big part of my life and for inviting me here today. So thank you guys. Yes.
So, real quick.
Thank you.
So come over here real quick. And it says, we honor Renee Vasquez today for her passion of giving back to the community, our community. She's a graduate of the class of 2016 Communication Arts High School. She's a young lady that strives to encourage the youth of San Antonio to believe in themselves and their dreams. There you go.
You're so sweet. Thank you so much. Oh,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
I really think the communication arts paid off.
I agree.
We never had that kind of a presentation, so anyway, thank you all. And thank you all.
Thank you.
And she brought gifts for everybody.
Yes,
Okay.
I did. So if I can give you guys that really quick.
It was 2016, you said?
Yes.
So you were there when my daughter was there.
Oh,
We talked-
really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. That's fun. Oh, okay. What was her name?
Jalen Blunt.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
Or are you making that up?
So bad, Bob.
Yeah, good. Well, thank you.
I did. One more, we'll pass, yes.
Yeah.
We'll give one. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you again, not only for the recognition that you've achieved, the impact you had in our schools, but I think just showcasing the talent you have, and I can see where the young ones, and actually the older ones too, you definitely made us feel comfortable, and so thank you again. Really appreciate it. And Carol, Trustee Harrell, thank you for, this is very special recognition. Hopefully the board do more of this. It's something a little bit different for us. I'm really pleased, so thank you again.
Thank you.
Yay.
Welcome.
Okay, good.
So you're gonna buzz off.
All right, so we'll go ahead now.
Leave the
Go all
humor to me.
night with
Leave
me.
the humor to me.
We'll go ahead and start now with our superintendent's report.
Wow, I get to follow a superintendent, a senator, and a queen. Now you're stuck with me. I don't know who put the order of this agenda together, but it wasn't very good planning. No, I appreciate the opportunity. On Thursday, the 15th, I had a really, Mr. Blunt and I had a really cool opportunity to see our STEM sister event at Ross Middle School in action, and so it was great to see some of our middle school young ladies engaged in some really exciting science, technology, engineering, mathematics projects. Like I say, it was really interesting. I utterly failed at building the toothpick / marshmallow tower. I don't know how you fared, Mr. Blunt. But, the Northside Museum Association also had their history camp, and so they celebrated with students. We had about 25 students engaged, looking back at 100 years of really what has transpired across Bexar County with the schools, and it was actually very educational for me personally. It was a lot of fun. Had the opportunity to see our Summer Literacy Academy at Marshall High School in action. This is our newcomer Summer Literacy Academy. It was really interesting. About 90% of the students that were involved in this academy were from Afghanistan, natives of Afghanistan. So we had students enrolled from Hobby, Rudder, Rawson, and of course Neff, and just a quick shout out to Miss Damaris Gutierrez. She did a phenomenal job of coordinating the event and putting it all together. So tomorrow, Thursday, the 28th, we will have our elementary school newcomers event, academy, if you have the opportunity at North Colonies Elementary School. Like I say, really, really neat event. I'd like to provide a real quick hiring update, seeing that this is in the midst of the heat of the hiring. I know that Ben was providing the latest and greatest numbers thus far. And again, I do think that our retention incentive, but also the general pay increase that was recently approved at 3% across all categories of employees has really helped us. So far, we're right now at 297 total vacancies, 202 general ed teaching vacancies, and 95 special education vacancies. We've hired 552 new teachers thus far. So Ben Muir and our HR department is hard at work in filling the vacancies. We have 153 instructional assistant vacancies, 97 total food service vacancies. We have 10 police officer vacancies, which are 6 patrol, 4 campus officers, and like I say, meeting with Chief Carnes earlier today, I know that he's hard at work in filling those vacancies, which I'll talk a little bit more about here momentarily with some recently passed legislation. We have 212 total custodial vacancies. We have 86 CDL bus drivers to still fill, and then 109 maintenance department vacancies. So, like I say, we're hard at work, and these are large numbers, but I know that the team is committed to trying to work as hard as possible to fill. We're looking at some other programs, and you'll see one of those with the alternative certification program, like I say, an effort to prepare to sprint to the finish line for the start of the school year come August 28th. The good thing is, as we were talking earlier, the penalty-free resignation date for the most part, for most surrounding school districts, expires at the end of this week. So hopefully we'll be in a mode of retention, but then also just working to recruit and hire the last remaining, particularly teachers and support staff. As Senator Menendez articulated earlier, it does take a complete team to make sure that we're in good shape and ready to make it all happen. One of the things that we're excited about exploring is the teacher incentive allotment. We're actually hiring teachers. I think we may have presented this at the last meeting. I think we've got about 12 already hired that are recipients of the TIA allotment from other districts. And so we're excited to begin that exploration process and assembling a committee to start looking at model development. Again, the governor called a second special session, so I'll jump into the legislative update real quickly. I know that the effort to try to eliminate the M&O property tax rate is an initiative. I don't know exactly how that initiative comes to fruition at a price tag of north of $55 billion, but the second special session, I know that Senator Menendez just indicated they're going to start tomorrow morning. I believe the House is gaveling in tomorrow morning as well. I do anticipate that there is going to be, through the House Committee on Educational Opportunity and Enrichment, a real effort, in fact, already committed to testifying on July 11th and July 12th for those committee hearings. I do think that there's going to be an effort to try to look at school finance reform, of course, ESA and voucher or school choice, and then, of course, again, the academic accountability system, I think, is going to be definitely on the agenda. We're closely tracking HB3, which is our school safety security, pretty large bill. It's about a 33-page piece of legislation. This is the one that requires a armed security officer at each campus. And so, meeting with Chief Carnes and Mr. Galindo, school safety, what does that look like? It's not a completely unfunded mandate. It's accompanied with $15,000 per campus. It raises the school safety allotment from $9.72 to $10 per ADA. So like I say, we're looking at the logistics and how do we go about implementing a plan to meet the letter of the law. Also assessing perimeter doors, access reduction, and of course, again, secondary IDs and going forward. So I do think that there's probably going to be, after the report from this committee is delivered, another special session in and around September. And I think that's where we're going to see, like I say, school finance reform potentially, and then also ESA and school voucher discussions. What comes of this is, of course, anybody's guess at this point. So I anticipate a lot of dialogue leading up to it. As a result, we're continuing to put together fiscal year 24 budget under current law. So at the July 25th meeting, you'll see that our revenue projections based upon our taxable values, certified taxable values, will be a result of current law, which I know a new template was just released today. But that's how we're having to proceed, seeing that we probably won't see any additional revenue from the state until, like I say, after the school year has already begun. And of course, the budget has already been presented. I know that, like I say, we're looking ahead at conducting our team of 8, and we'll talk through the board superintendent goals process here momentarily. I know that Dr. Duran, month of August, we're going to let her safely return and then try to look at a date that works for everyone's calendar. And of course, the district calendar for the 24-25, 25-26. That is really difficult to even envision at this point. We're going to be assembling a calendar committee and start looking at options potentially to start the school year a little bit earlier. Seems to be the overwhelming desire at this point, so that'll be forthcoming in the early months of the fall semester. And then again, preparing for Leadership Institute, which will kick off August 1st and 2nd, and then Convocation August 22nd through the 24th. So, and of course, I would be remiss if I did not take a moment to celebrate with you all the fortune that we had of seeing our 2023 graduates, 6,895 participated in commencement exercises the week of June 1st through the 6th. So from an efficiency standpoint, I shared this with our campus principals and leadership, I guess, last week. Brandeis High School graduated in 1 hour and 25 minutes. And then Taft in our communication arts high school magnet, 1 hour and 36 minutes. So we had to divide them up into two different divisions, but they took home the prizes. So, but no, it was great to see all of our families, parents, friends, and of course the graduates, really celebrating the culmination of all of the hard work. And so, again, thank you to our trustees for playing a vital role in that. I know it was a long few days, but I thought it was a really successful days. So with that being said, I think we've got a video moment that's kind of a look back at our commencement.
Today marks a momentous occasion in our lives, a defining milestone as we gather here to celebrate the incredible journey of our children.
Good evening, class of 2023.
We've come a long way from freshman year.
I'm so proud of you guys for making it all 4 years, and I cannot wait to see what the future holds for us.
We are the next generation, filled with diverse individuals who are not defined by some number, description, or name.
Teachers, staff, and all district personnel, thank you for your dedication to our young people.
Class of 2023, I see a bright future ahead of us.
Graduation is an end to all of those good times in high school, just as much as it is a beginning for all of the great times ahead.
Graduates, make the most of the opportunities before you.
Embrace the challenges and failures that await you.
Never let anyone tell you you can't do something.
Life is a book that never ends. Chapters close, but not the book itself.
Even though times were tough, we overcame every obstacle thrown at us. But here we are, graduating and with big dreams and plans up ahead.
Our 4 years have flown by.
And even though we are all going our separate ways after we cross that stage today,
Live your life to the fullest. Gain new experiences, meet new people, and make lifelong memories.
you have so many beautiful years ahead of you. Become whoever you aspire to be.
You see changes present in all walks of life.
As we graduate high school, remember, pursue your goals, but never forget you are human. Seriously.
Class of 2023, we out.
Seniors, please join me in the ceremonial moving of the tassel, which symbolizes the transition from senior 2022 on the left to graduate 2023 on the right.
Pending any questions, Mr. President, that concludes our report. Like I say, we'll be busy about preparing for the upcoming school year and then, of course, tracking what's going on with the legislative session.
There was just one. The Leadership Institute is located.
Leadership Institute is at the activity.
All individual campuses.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
All over.
Yeah,
okay.
we're remoting in.
Got it.
Every campus.
Okay, good thing. And I gotta say, that whoever did that, well, I know who did the video. That video is really
great.
good.
Great job.
I don't know if we've ever done that before. Okay,
It's
we
awesome.
I know all the board members definitely want a copy, and this is one we would share, right, Carol? Our
Yes.
Twitter, and this is
Yes,
appropriate.
we will get it out.
Thank you. So that would be great.
Awesome.
That was really well done. Thank you, Dr. Hunt. Okay, and now we'll go next over to our trustees report. Dr. Lopez. Well, I'm sorry. You know, it's Trustee Lopez. Yeah.
Thank you, Bobby. I just had a few things. First of all, I wanted to make sure that I at least brought attention to. I know today we had a Officer Alexandria Castro was admitted into the hospital for heat for heat exhaustion. So I just wanted everybody to keep her in our thoughts and prayers, and that she does well. And apparently she's doing okay, but she was there at the hospital. So please keep her in our prayers, in your prayers as well. So on that one. On the next one, fine arts. It's always great to see our programs in our fine arts programs specifically that were really engaging kids. And there was a lot of programs going on within the elementary school and the middle school and high school. And so just wanted to recognize James and his department and his leadership teams there and for the great job that they did in keeping our kids active and engaged in the summer and keeping them out of the heat too. So that was a good thing. So, but that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lopez. Trustee Hall?
Thank you. I'll just piggyback on that. Dr. Kraft, when I think of over 6,000 graduates, if all 7 of us, because we live for graduation. I mean, that's almost the sum total of why we serve and volunteer, is to see our kids graduate, see the faces of the kids, but the hugs and the laughter and the joy with families afterwards. And we know there's great things coming for them. But if you take all 7 trustees and divide it into 6,000 plus, we shook about 900 hands each, right? And so nothing better than that, right? Especially living through the COVID years where we had to separate by 6 to 10 feet, and then we had to wear masks and then kind of fist bump or not shake. We passed out. So this was just so joyful on so many accounts, and staff did a great job arranging the graduations, and the speeches were phenomenal. So proud of our kids. I do want to, again, piggyback on what Gerald said. So a couple of us got to see The Lion King the other day, and it was the middle school. I want to make sure I say all the schools that came, because it was phenomenal to have that many kids in 11 days do the arts and crafts that they did, but perform at the level of incredible performance. I mean, it belonged on at the Majestic. It was really that good, and I really am not exaggerating. It was so good. No one forgot a line. There were no cues missed. It was like they had been rehearsing for months. But it was John Jay High School, Holmes High School, Hobby Middle School, Jones Middle School, Neff Middle School, Peace Middle School, Rayburn Middle School, Sul Ross Middle School, Zachary Middle School, and Rudder Middle School. And so when you walk in, you were greeted by some of the most creative art that we've ever seen. And the kids were so proud to talk about the art. But then to go in and listen to the music and see the acting of Lion King, and the scene, the set design, all the behind the scenes stuff, and how all these teachers too came from all the schools, worked with district staff to do this for kids. Those kids will never be the same. They just got a taste of what that collaboration and that coordination looks like, but then also the pride they felt. They got a standing ovation. The same was said at the elementary version of this, so I just wish it could be every month. Do 11 days here and 11 days. I know it's exhausting, but oh my gosh, the kids, they were standing out and waiting for people to ask for their autographs. And of course, my granddaughter was in love with Dylan, so she's seen him at Peace Middle School perform, and now she got to see him at this, and she just stares that he's like John Wayne or something. But anyway, it was pretty doggone cool. So thanks to staff too, as Gerald said. Great job, Fine Arts. That's it.
Thank you, Trustee Hall. Trustee Freeman?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Blunt. I was with Carol at the Lion King concert, and I had my 2 grandkids. It was so great that they were here at the time. And we spent the week prior to that performance watching the movies, The Lion King. I didn't realize there was a Lion King 1.5. Did you all know that? You probably did, but you might want to check it out. So the kids knew that they had seen a couple of the movies before, but they knew the characters. I got to tell you, as Carol said, the performance was phenomenal, but the kids had such stage presence. Many of these kids were middle school kids, and I'm thinking of, I don't want to single out anybody because I'll forget somebody else, but I got to tell you, some of the stars, Rafiki had been right in front of us, and this young woman, her eyes just sparkled. I mean, they all did extremely well, but my granddaughter was focused on Rafiki, and absolutely beautiful costuming, makeup, and the kids taking the time afterwards. And it was real interesting too, as there was a standing ovation. I saw the staff, not only were the kids in awe that people were standing, but when all of the directors had gotten up, they said, oh, they had this look on their face like they were surprised. It was a phenomenal performance, and so great job. Dr. Kraft, congratulations for shaking all of the 600, 6,800 and whatever. I got to tell you, that's backbreaking. That's a backbreaking job, but you did a great job, and congratulations to the trustees for attending too. It was really great graduation. Bobby and I were able to attend the council. The San Antonio City Council had recognized Northside at one of their council meetings. We just happened to have a conference downtown, a trustee conference, and so we were able to go there and attend. And Melissa and myself and Bobby were there, and there a couple of the council people had offered remarks and congratulated us, as well as Mayor Nurnberg, and we had some pictures. It was very nice of them to be able to recognize that, and we were proud to have been there. And Bobby, in his remarks, just as I said, rocked it. You did a really good job, and of talking about who we are and why, and what the ward was all about, and how we represent school districts across the city. So anyway, that was great, and I think that's all I have. But thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Chu. Trustee Sadanja?
Graduations were awesome. That's my favorite day of the whole year. I just love those days because it's like Carol said, that's exactly what we, especially educators, that's what we want to see. And so that was awesome. To me, those 4 days are the best 4 days of the year. We also had other celebrations. We celebrated the retirees, and we celebrated Partners of the Year, and Carol and I got to go and see an ISM presentation by Jonah Espinosa at Clark High School. That was an incredible presentation. We just kept looking at each other because we kept saying, this is a high school student, and his presentation was just amazing. So we were so excited to have been there. And then I got to give out paletas to the 8th graders at Hobby on their field day. Principal Caranco had organized a field day for the 8th graders and invited me to go and give out the paletas, and of course the kids were loving that. There were so many parents there that day volunteering and working with all the kids, and the kids having a wonderful time. And then we had our Summer Leadership Institute, so we spent 3 days downtown learning more about being good trustees, and so it's been a good month. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Sadanja. Trustee Salcido?
Yeah, thank you. I got to attend ceremony for my great nephew. He was getting promoted from pre-K at Rhodes Elementary. So as I was standing there, I was in the hallway. They were getting ready to parade down. I noticed a set of numbers on the stairwells. I guess it's a 2-story building. I've never been there, but I just kept staring at it. It was just what looked like random numbers, but I figured out it was a 6, a 12, a 18, and they went up in multiples of 6, and then the next numbers were multiples of 7, and I was really like, wow, they got the multiplication table up these stairs. This is constant learning. This is what we need, not only in the classroom, but in the actual school, the stairwells. This principal here was finding different ways to educate our kids. Not only, I should have went to the bathroom. Maybe they got some kind of stuff in there too, but it was like, it drew my attention to the set of stairs. I kept trying to figure out what they were until I finally figured it out. I didn't get a chance to tell her about it because, of course, there was a big a ceremony going on, but I did get to talk to a custodian there. She's a day porter. She loved her job, loved coming to work. She was all excited. And at the end, she said, I asked her, is there anything else? Well, we could get some better pay. It would be good. So we got excited employees. You know, I think we can do, try to get them at least a living wage to try to make them even happier. You know, she had no complaints that she wasn't leaving, nothing. She just produced more money. So as a board, I think we should look into that. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Trustee Alcida. And I'll just add a couple, just be a little bit repetitive. The STEM Sisters, I think, was great for another reason, just to have the opportunity to meet those young STEM sisters, literally, and converse with them and see their excitement and their knowledge. It was really a lot of fun. And it's so common when I was going around, you know, they would say, hey, there's the solar guy. So it's always good to be known for something. But it was definitely enjoyable. And you all remind me, we're talking about graduations. I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. One of the interesting challenges with graduation, and I know you had 7,000 of them, is you got to figure out that handshake real quick, because a couple are going to challenge you on that. And if you're not ready for that, it's sort of interesting sort of reaction you get with that. So there's always a little things too, in addition to that joyous moment that you go through with those students. The last one I had, did have the opportunity to be part of, I think, 3 different presentations during Summer Leadership Institute, 3 in San Antonio, they did 3 in Fort Worth. And one of my presentations, I really tried to challenge the trustees across the state to really understand what the education code states for our real overall responsibilities are. So I mentioned AE Legal. And what I would challenge them, I'd show them all the outcomes, the student outcomes and everything else. So if you're just looking at that, you really haven't done what we're supposed to really do for as trustees, because AE Legal says we're to prepare kids for society, economically, education, and social-wise, et cetera. So how do you measure that? So I'm trying to encourage more partnership type things and more involvement in getting data also from the community aspect. So it was a lot of fun to have those discussions with others across the state, because it always makes you think about how well you're doing in that regard too. So that completes our, I think that completes our trustee reports. Okay. So next we have our citizens to be heard, and I know we have one citizen signed up. And what I would do is let me go ahead and go over our rules for addressing the board during citizens to be heard. So we believe citizens to be heard is important and meaningful, and we'll listen to what you have to say. We value your opinions, although we're restrained by law from taking any actions. I'm going to ask you address your remarks to the board. Confine your remarks to NISD policy or practice. Limit your remarks to 3 minutes. At 3 minutes, you'll be asked to wrap up your remarks. What we'll do to help out at 2 minutes, our board secretary will hold up the yellow card, and then at 3 minutes, we'll hold the red card. Please don't make any personal attacks on any individuals, and we'll go ahead and call our citizen.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Members of the board, we only have one citizen signed up, and I will go ahead and allow Terry Zablocki to come to the podium.
Well, hi there, sir, and ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Lopez, put the red card away. Mr. Lopez, if you don't, I don't care.
Yeah,
Excuse me while I get ready for my presentation. Do I get a moment to prepare? We got some things we have to get out here. Let's see.
I think we allow grace to former trustees, right?
Pardon?
We allow grace for certain.
I don't really care. I think that should do it. All right. Actually, just for your information, Mr. Lopez, I was a debater, and so I got challenged by certain admin that said things like, oh, 3 minutes? All right, fine. Are you ready? I'm going to go rapid-fire debate style, and Mr. Lopez, when you get to that yellow one, wave it before you put the red one up, so I know I have a minute left. Everybody ready? Here we go. UCLA coach John Wooden taught his players how to put on their shoes and socks in a very particular way. When asked about this, he replied, "The little things matter. All I need is one little wrinkle in one sock to put a blister on one foot, and it could ruin my whole season." Now, that's my visual aid. Socks. Trustees, in the bag up there, you have socks. Dr. Woods was recognized this evening, and I believe 2 years ago I came here and said we should have socks or clocks for trustees. No offense, but there are those of us who, the $34 clock from Monarch Trophy, I wear proudly my Northside Museum tag. Oh my goodness. They were ecstatic when I said, give us a choice. Is there some way? So now all of you in your bag have a thing of socks. Please give them to the superintendent over the time so that we get this in place for next time. I also brought with me my HEB bag because we are going to relate you, Dr. Kraft, to Victor Wembanyama. Everybody ready? We're going to get into this. This is the HEB bag that was the 5th championship, and HEB recognized the board for paying attention to the little things, and that is appreciated absolutely in terms of it. I would like to return to the Spurs and talk about it. In order to do this, I am proposing, because Dr. Kraft, you drafted him, right? He was number 1. All right, so we're going to combine and we're going to figure out a way to use all the talents of Northside to come together and have an event where Dr. Kraft and Northside, we've got Torian Prince is playing for the Minnesota Timberwolves. We've got all kinds of people. We have the girls, Clark State basketball champions. You should have a team. We should have an event. And ready? Watch, we're going to bring the librarian action figure in. All right, we have action figures, bobbleheads, etc. Librarians, the support that the board has given has been unreal. And I brought a book today that came, actually, if they don't know it, I took it from the library services. Brian the Dancing Lion. Remember Dr. Woods, who, oh yeah, he never danced at convocation. And so before he left, I told him I was challenging him to be the halftime at whatever event you come up with, sir. I think it'll be fantastic, and we're going to make a fortune on it. And so I would like to say, once again, we put the fun in fundraising when it comes to Northside. And when things get bananas, Dr. Kraft, here's your game. Thank you very much. I'm done. Please give him the socks and give us a choice, socks or clocks, when it comes to retirement. Thank you.
Well, thank
Was
you.
it under 3?
You did. Well done. Thank you. Trustee Zabaki.
Okay, hold on while I clean up now. Socks or clocks? Well, there are some other things. I think I put Tootsie Roll Pops in. Yeah, Tootsie Rolls and Tootsie Roll Pops. Oh, yeah, because I have stock in Tootsie Roll. And it was the only way when certain people would get up, citizens like me, that were to be heard, I make sure that I would just suck on a Tootsie Roll Pop, bite off the thing or whatever. So I didn't respond, which was very hard, but I managed to make it through that. I'll be quiet.
All right, you don't get me in trouble, Terry.
Lisa
You did
Polka
good.
has no idea.
Yeah, not yet. Thank you, Trustee Zabaki. You done well as always.
This is Terry Zablocki.
Oh, you haven't. Oh. But not everybody in the audience has. Not everybody that's observing has. Thank you, former Trustee Zabaki. And let me just clarify, because we can't respond to citizens be heard, but we can clarify facts. And I know that Dr. Woods danced at least once, so I did want to clarify that. Never mind, I'm not going to argue with you. I was beside him. But anyway, let's go on with our meeting so I don't get in trouble. All right. So our next item is we have our reports next. I should have done, we typically had it a little bit earlier, and I hope you're okay with us making a little bit of changes in that regard. But we're definitely fortunate to hear from our School Health Advisory Council. And Dr. Jordan, you going to take that one?
Yes, thank you, President Blunt. We are really thrilled to be bringing to you the annual SHAC report. That stands for School Health Advisory Council. It is a requirement that we hear from the president or the chair of SHAC, who gives us an update on the activities of the year. So it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Richard Crabb, who's a parent of NISD students, who will bring us today's report. Thank you.
Good evening, Board of Trustees members. I do have it written, so it helps me make sure I cover all the points. The Northside School Health Advisory Council is made up of 22 individuals, 12 district staff, 4 parents, and 4 community members, and 2 students. The student advisors this year were Robert Carollo from Clark High School and Bailey Madison from Marshall High School. SHAC community stakeholders included Deanna Stansberry from the American Heart Association and Ali Cantu from the Culinary Health Education for Families, chef. Caitlin Bollier is from the Whole Child Department, continued her role as district facilitator. The SHAC met 4 times during the 2022-23 school year. The main task for this year was for members to review our local wellness policy and plan and grow knowledge of community resources to help with health education and physical activity. Our council had subcommittees that focused their efforts on 4 areas, with each community member working together to formulate and recommend ways to improve the health and wellness of NISD. The committees were the local health wellness policy, wellness plan, progress, and monitoring. They review, discuss, and report on progress for the district wellness policy. The second was the physical activity and fitness planning, which is to increase physical activity and improve fitness among students. Our third was family and community engagement, which increased parent involvement on campuses with community resources. And our fourth was the social and emotional learning, which was to create a plan to increase teacher awareness about SEL. Detailed SHAC accomplishments are outlined in the SHAC board report, the 2022-23 table of activities, which I believe you've already received. Personally, I'm a proud parent of 3 Northside children. My oldest is in 10th grade at Communication Arts. My second is in 9th grade at Ensight, and my youngest is in 6th grade at Zachary Middle School. As a new chair for Northside's ISD SHAC, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to represent the district. It was my privilege to oversee the council and serve as an advocate for health and wellness of our Northside students and staff. And it really was. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Yeah, we do. Trustee Harrell?
It's not really a question. We went over everything that you had done, and the SHAC committee throughout the year at our academics committee meeting, and those of us who were present were just so grateful and really in awe of all the recommendations and hard work, and we certainly value the time that it probably took away from your family and some other things that you could have been doing, but just know that it wasn't just a committee in name only, that these things will be carried out. So thank you very much, and the committee as well.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
We had a
And
really
thanks-
great team around us.
Well, I mean, that's an example of how good our families are, so thank you.
Anything else?
Any
Thank you.
comments, questions? Good. Thank you once again.
Thank you so
Thank
much, Mr. Crabb, and I also want to recognize Caitlin Bowler, who he had referenced her, and she facilitates SHAC, so we really appreciate all you do.
Yeah, thank you all again for your support, without a doubt. Thank you. Doctor, I do have one other question related to the SHAC, separate from the report itself. Since we're coming up on the fall time period, do you need board member appointments? Is there anything we should look at now?
Yes, sir. So it should have been in this past Friday letter. There's actually going to be kind of a repeated ask. All SHAC members are board appointed, so we do need some other great folks. And then we bring to you in August, at the August regular board meeting, the slate for your consideration and approval for the 23-24 SHAC council. So yes, sir, I appreciate that reminder.
Okay, yes, if all board members can take a look, so we can have that by July or so, be ready for the August meeting. Go ahead, Dr. Hall.
Yeah, thank you, Bobby. Just real quick, Dr. Jordan, can you tell us, because I've had some responses back, like how many meetings or about how much time?
So typically, the SHAC has 4 meetings a year. Those meetings are always posted ahead of time. Meetings run no longer than 2 hours. Members participate on different committees. And so we've had, once people get on SHAC, they don't want to leave. So that's really a testament to the facilitation and our chair here. The SHAC really should comprise mostly parents of current NISD students. And so as you might imagine, we have some staff on there. What we're needing from you guys are recommendations for parents or community members that you think would be good representatives.
Trustee Freeman?
Yeah, thank you. My question was the same as Carol's, but I will ask too. You said that meetings are posted ahead of time. Do we have those dates? Have those dates, have they been set, or does the committee?
The dates for the 23-24 school year have not, but what we can do is if you guys need some information when you make your initial reach out, we can get you dates, we can get a description of, kind of the ask of their, attendance. And so we'll make sure that blurb is in Friday letter for you. And then when you have recommendations, if you'll just get me their contact information, and then we actually make a phone call to them. And then that way we can answer any questions and really have a conversation about that. But yeah, we can add some of that information in the Friday letter.
Okay, good. Thank you. And that one's just a report again, not scheduled for action, but thank you all again. So next one we do have, and this one is scheduled for action, will be our consent agenda. Is there a motion? Does anybody want anything pulled first? Okay, is there a motion to come before the board?
I move approval for the items on consent.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? If not, it's been moved and second that we approve the consent agenda item. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, state nay. Okay, motion carries. Good, thank you all. So next we'll go into our curriculum and instruction, and I think this is one, if I remember right, we have on a sort of an annual basis, but we'll go ahead and, Dr. Jordan, you taking that one? I'm
Yes,
looking your
sir.
way.
Yes, sir. So we do have this on an annual basis. We bring this to you each year because it's a requirement that the board approves us to submit an application to operate an optional flexible school day. So as you know, in Northside, that's the Irene Chavez Excel Academy. And it's a terrific program that focuses on students who are short of credits. Its intention is dropout prevention and to ensure students get a high school diploma. So the reason why we have to have the waiver is because students attend numbers of hours that differ from what they would attend in a traditional setting. This past year, the Academy served 252 students. The attendance rate was over 80%, which is a really good attendance rate in an alternative setting. And then, as you know, graduation rate data is lagging. It's a year behind. So the latest that we have is of our 21-22 graduates, and 93% of students who began the program graduated from the program. Darren Calvert, you know, Mr. Calvert has been the longtime leader at that campus and has done really great things for kids. So what you're approving tonight, really, we already have the application completed. It's no change from the previous year, is for us to submit it. And then it's automatically accepted and we can offer the program next year.
Comments or questions from the board? Yeah, Trustee Hall?
Thank you, Mr. Blunt. Janice, can you share the celebration piece that they'd like us to participate in? Like the first day, was it first day celebration? Was there something?
I would have to, yeah, that's
It was
not.
something we were invited to celebrate.
Oh,
or
are
to
you,
kick off
you may be thinking of our enrichment academies that
that's
we're
it,
doing at
enrichment.
Westwood Terrace and Cable Elementary.
And that's coming up in August, right?
Yes, that's coming. That's the one where it's the additional days in the school year. And so teachers come back and
That's right.
students start, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But they may celebrate at Chavez Academy too.
You know what? Everyone needs
They
that.
should.
So
They
maybe
should.
we can make one up. Okay, thanks.
Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, we'll do that.
All right, it's not, this one is, can be scheduled, or is scheduled for action. Is there a motion to come before the board? Either way.
I would move approval.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? If not, it's been moved and second that we approve the 23-24 optional flex school day for Chavez Academy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, state nay. Okay, motion carries. All right, so now we move along to our next area is in the human resources. And this is one I know we've been, had some conversations on, but alternative certification reimbursement program.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, members of the board, as promised, we are looking at implementing this program here in the very near future upon board consideration to reimburse employees, our future employees that we are hoping to recruit and or maybe current employees that have a four-year degree for a $5,000 up to $5,000 reimbursement payment for completing their certification. Really think that this will help garner particularly some of our areas, mathematics, special education, particularly our self-contained special education units, as we, like I say, prepare to start the school year. So Ben can probably answer any questions that you might have, and like I say, we appreciate your consideration of this important item.
Yes, and thank you for allowing me to come back, Dr. Kraft and board. This is just kind of a revisit of the last time I was here. I think Dr. Kraft tonight just kind of giving you the scope of where we're sitting at with vacancies. Like I said, the last time, we're making progress in the right direction, and we still continue to do that. This will also provide us an opportunity, thanks to passing that DOI, the District of Innovation, allows us some flexibility on our hires. So this allows us to go and essentially go out and try to recruit some bachelor degree people with a math, a science, English, to hopefully recruit them to come work with us, and then to support them, Diana Ely's group as well, to support them through the process, because this is a process and it is a reimbursement. And then upon completing their statement of eligibility, their intern certification, then it's signing essentially a 3-year agreement with us. So, any questions?
Trustee Freeman, or was that earlier?
That was,
Okay, no, I'm good.
that was earlier, except I do have a question.
I anticipated.
Okay. So why with like the first one, Texas teachers, so 4,700 if paid in full, or 51 if 10 monthly installments? So this is as they go through the program. There are several here with monthly installments. So as they go through the program, because I thought we were going to reimburse once they've completed.
On the back end. So when we meet with these individuals, if they're recommended to be hired, we sit down, there'll be a process. They'll sign an addendum with us. We are going to make sure that they are in a program and that they understand that they're paying, I mean, they're getting teacher salary, so they're going to have to set aside some money each month to pay. And then upon completion, and they provide us the statement of eligibility, the intern certification, is when we can turn around, we get their invoices, and we reimburse them for their cost, up to $5,000.
So it's up to them whether they want it in monthly installments or paid in full. I guess I'm not understanding.
They'll have to decide how they want to do that. And I will tell you, Texas teachers, what I didn't put in here is there is no payment as they're going. There is no payment for them until they essentially have employment.
You have it in here, payment begins once candidate receives.
Correct.
Yeah, these are just the
Correct.
logistics involved with each individual program, not how the reimbursement will be.
Correct. The key is
dispersed from the
that
district.
they've got some buy-in, and they pay along the way. There are districts that will reimburse up front, which every single one of these programs will tell you, do not do that, because you've got to have some buy-in to get these people to complete this, so.
Trustee Lopez?
Thank you. Ben, I was asked a question, and I'm not sure if this is even makes sense or not, but, so let's say if a teacher has a certification already, a certificate to teach, but she would like to go into a dual language program. Is there a certification for that? Because she wanted to start teaching Spanish, right?
Sure.
Are there programs for that, and could you help me understand that? And are there opportunities where we as a district could help those individuals that wanted to teach in that one field, let's say dual language?
Sure. So teachers that are already certified can go and they can challenge any test that's out there.
Okay.
So they're already a certified teacher, they can go, and if they want to do Spanish, they want to do French, whatever it may be, they can go and they can challenge that test.
Okay. And would they, let's say they're willing to come and work with the district and say, you know, I'd like to come here, and would they reimburse me for the certification class or for the test or whatever it is?
That's not part of
No,
this.
I know, but that wouldn't be something that we could potentially look at in the future?
I think there's a few things we can look at in the future, from, taking some of our IAs and taking them down a certain path with special education to possibly reimbursement on tests. I think there's kind of endless possibilities on what we can look at. I think what we were trying to kind of be laser focused on this is trying to hit
I
these
got it. No,
vacancies.
you're focusing in on this, but there's other people that are already certified and
Sure.
they'd like to teach in a different, dual language program. So I was just saying, I'm fine with that. I was just saying, are there other opportunities that we could do that to explore in the future, to bring in some more people, right?
Sure.
It's attracting people in here and say,
Sure.
hey.
It's definitely something we can look at.
Yeah, okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Sedano?
Do we know what it costs for them to go take one of the exams to be certified in a different field? If I were a math teacher and I want to teach Spanish, do we know what it would cost me to go take the test? Would I do it through Region 20?
You would just, basically, they would log into their account, their TEAL account that they have, their certification, and they would challenge a test in there. So they'd pay, most of them are online.
Do you know what it costs?
Costs vary depending on the test. So anywhere from probably $87 to $187.
So it's not that expensive to challenge a test?
No, it's not. It's not.
So Gerald, you may want to suggest that,
Yeah,
because.
something through like our academics, right, to where we can explore that, or
Well,
John, or,
Well,
you know.
it's like he's saying, they can log into their
And have
TA
them,
account
sure.
and find out what it would cost the person to take the Spanish test. And if it, it's under $200, that's worth it if that's what they want to teach.
Sure.
If I may, if I follow through, I think what, Joe, if I see what you're actually asking,
Is
and I duly noted as a question is, could we reimburse that, right? That's the bottom you're asking, correct?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Where can we also reimburse it,
Right,
beyond,
but-
separate from what we're talking about here?
But to me, that's not nearly as, the cost of something like
Oh,
this
yeah,
that
yeah,
we're looking
yeah,
at. We're
yeah.
talking thousands. This is not even $200. So if there are teachers who want to teach something else, they have the opportunity to test out of it.
And again, this was just as another option, right? We're specifically targeting teachers or that want to switch or become a teacher, right? I'm just saying, is there another alternative or another area that we can bring in more teachers that would like to switch fields, right? Or whatever you call it, certainly. I'm not getting the language. That's all I'm saying. And if there's an opportunity, maybe that will incentivize them to come to the district. Oh, you'll even pay my certification? Okay, sure. I'm just saying those are avenues that I'm looking at. That's all. That's all I was saying.
We
A
can definitely,
suggestion.
we can absolutely analyze, we need to run a fiscal analysis. I think that it would need to be, again, a reimbursement process.
Sure.
Upon successful completion, of the certification process exam. But we can definitely
Sure.
try to run
Yeah, I
an
mean,
analysis.
Just another way of another way of bringing in more people, right? So, thank you, Ben. Appreciate it. Thank you, Bobby.
Yeah. Anything further on yours? Okay. Trustee Harrell?
Real quick question. I know the House is going back tomorrow. Any more discussion on retire, rehire? It was interesting because shaking those hands at retirement, I would say, and maybe 1 out of 5, because you know how we each said something nice to them or asked them a question? We said, so remember, you can always come back. They're working on it in Austin was my deal. And they go, oh, yeah, like I'm going to start tutoring as soon as I have my 2 weeks off or something. It seemed like there was a general excitement about coming back and tutoring, or there was a couple other things mentioned, but there was some momentum at the beginning of the session that retire, rehire was another way to go.
That's a great question. We spent probably 25% of the day having this conversation across various departments, including business and finance. It's a great idea. There's not momentum, to my knowledge, at this point with the special session. Most of the special session right now is in and around tax relief. Yeah, exactly. Property tax, elimination of the M&O rate. Does it come in the form of compression? So that's kind of mission critical at this point. Of course, the governor can place items on agendas as he so chooses. This will be part of, though, I think a grander initiative. Again, talking about being invited to testify on the 11th and 12th of July, this will be one area that we're definitely going to seek assistance. The surcharge is currently 16%, which we ran some numbers earlier today, that the district would be required to pick up. The other piece is there's still the separation requirement of a year. So nothing has changed as of now, but I think that potentially the request to provide some flexibility with that year requirement Again, if it can be sustainable by the TRS retirement system itself, fiduciarily speaking, would definitely be a worthwhile request. And I think that colleagues across the state would very much welcome that relief. But as of right now, no, there is not the flexibility. Now, we can rehire retirees after they've separated for an entire calendar year. But again, there's going to still be that 16% surcharge that will be required to be paid to TRS on behalf.
And the other thing, just to kind of piggyback on what Gerald said, there is some really good stuff coming out on teacher retention about paying for teacher certifications, being multi-certified, and or reimbursing them once they get the certificate. And so that would be kind of cool to look at academics, just to see if we could, what are all those different certifications. It's almost like badges. When we get emails from staff or from teaching staff, they love to show their badges that they've earned, and really they earn those without getting any compensation. It's just like a Girl Scout badge. But the ones that can place them in a different position, in a needed position, especially like special ed and those kind, just curious at what that could cost us.
Yeah, it sounds like, so when we get future agenda, let's go ahead and move that up to this part, just on this conversation, that if we can, why don't we, if it's okay to schedule that probably for an academic committee. It sounds like got enough people interested.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We'd also like to look at potentially expanding dual credit and
Yes.
those certifications
Yes.
associated as well. So we absolutely will.
Thank you very much.
And thanks for bringing up the retire. I can tell you, it's coming up, not just then, but I'm catching it on a regular basis, those conversations from teachers that retire. We say, hey, y'all really looking at that? We really do want to, but y'all got the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It sounded like you did, the 25%, yeah, covers, okay. Good, so this one, so back to our alternative certification reimbursement program. This is a possible approval, if the board so chooses. Trustee Hall?
I move
Okay.
that we approve the alternate certification reimbursement program.
All right, motion and second. Any further discussion? Now, it's been moved and seconded. We approve the alternative certification reimbursement program. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, state nay. Good, motion carries. Good. Thank you,
you all.
Ben. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good. All right, so now we'll go into the administration area. Do we have anything on our low attendance waivers?
We do indeed,
do?
sir. Mr. Blunt, Dr. Kraft, trustees. So on occasion, and we've done this before, there is an event or an incident that affects our attendance to a level significantly such that the state actually allows us to apply for a waiver. And so this spring, we had a series of social media threats. And some of you may remember as we get communication out to you as these incidents occur. And so, and if you're following along in your notes there, we did have, and just to, again, brief you, so typically when this occurs, we obviously have a protocol. We communicate with law enforcement. Our PD gets involved. They investigate. Typically, and in these cases, certainly the threats are not credible. We communicate that out, as much as we can to our families. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, we have a hit on attendance, if you will, and we have a number of students that don't attend. So, all that being said, we had 4 dates this spring, April 3rd, 4th, and May 5th and 17th, that affected 10 schools. And so they each had a percentage such that well beyond the 10%, which is the threshold they have as far as if you cross that and are lower than the year previously, you can apply for a waiver. And so that being said, we bring for you to approve these 4 dates and these 10 schools to send to TEA to submit as a waiver, and so that on attendance on those days, these schools are removed from the ADA. And so every bit accounts, and certainly them not being accounted with the rest of our schools will help us in as far as the attendance for these days. And so our ask is for approval to submit. And actually, I should thank Erica Forrester, our SIS director, for retiring SIS director, for putting all this information for us together and always watching out for these types of incidents. So thank you.
Good. Any comments or questions? We know how important ADA is, and this was put in place, and it seems appropriate, but any comments or questions? All right, is there a motion?
Need to
Oh,
approve
I'm
this?
sorry.
Just a comment. Erica Forster has already mentioned Mr. Galindo. Thank you for your service and tremendous work. This is not an easy job, and so we appreciate all that you've done. And talking about bringing retirees back, we're not letting Eric off the hook just that easily. But we appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
Do we need a motion for this
Yes, ma'am.
approval? I move that we approve the attendance waivers for the schools listed.
Okay. Have a motion and a second? Any further discussion?
Second.
You good, Trustee Salcido?
Yeah, no, I said second, I didn't have my mic on.
Okay, good, we're good, okay. So we have, any further discussion? If not, so moved and second that we approve the attendance waivers as discussed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, state nay. Great, thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so we'll go ahead. Next, we go into our superintendent area. This is our proposed draft of 2023-24 board and superintendent goals. Dr. Kraft.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, members of the board, we want to go ahead and start this dialogue conversation. I know that, like I say, we would like to be able to have this conversation in our team of 8 and/or board retreat, but seeing that our clock is ticking as we are preparing to start the school year, wanted to go ahead and provide, like I say, a very preliminary proposed draft, which cabinet members and administrators have begun to look and peruse and offer suggestions, but wanted to, like I say, have the opportunity to also solicit input, feedback, which doesn't necessarily have to be tonight. Our intent would be to collect information, communication, suggestions, thoughts, and then try to bring this back at the July 25th meeting. So very quickly, the 2022-2023 board superintendent goals are your first sheet in your board docs, and then the 23-24 proposed goals are, like I say, the draft format. You'll see in blue text the proposed changes. Under Goal 1, we haven't modified the goal. However, that third bullet, measure and quantify areas of satisfaction opportunities for improvement across NISD schools. I really think that a district-wide survey, so students, community members, of course staff, would be warranted, and just helping us to assess programmatic offerings and areas for growth. I think we will be looking to add some internal, external communication components and measures along with that goal. So that's the only, like I say, real modification, other than adding advocacy initiatives to that second bullet and assisting trustees. Goal 2 is really our academic goal. This one's a little bit tricky simply because, again, we don't know what the star cut points and how those are going to be established just yet. In fact, we probably won't have those indicators until end of August, even beginning of September. And so with the board goals in and around early childhood literacy, mathematics, and of course CCMR, definitely anticipate having to bring this back and, like I say, revisiting really how to go about those development of those SMART goals, measurable SMART goals. The improvement of participation rates and expansion of co-curricular, extracurricular activities in fine arts, JROTC, CTE, athletics, learning organizations, and clubs. This is really intended to be all-inclusive, simply because we know how much student engagement influences in a positive manner academic achievement. So again, that was an added bullet. In Goal 3, this is a new goal. We've incorporated the previous Goal 3 initiatives into Goals 1 and 2. We really feel like that, as you've already paid witness and have heard hiring efforts, but also graciously approved a lot of the initiatives, we've really got to have a concerted focus on high-quality instructors in every classroom going forward. I think that this is absolutely not only where the rubber meets the road, but this is going to have to be a cumulative team effort going forward, just looking at the national shortage of certified educators. So the TIA initiative already discussed. I do think that assembling a committee of teachers to help start to explore and work around the modeling is a warranted effort going forward. Of course, we want to be the regional leader in pay and benefits and compensation and benefits, which I know the board has worked very diligently in doing so, and we still feel like that we're in good shape. Now, there are a couple of areas that we're watching very closely as other districts are approving general pay increases and adopting their budgets, but we feel like that we're still very, very competitive at this point across all classifications of employment. Exploring differentiated strategies to fill particularly our critical shortage areas and areas of high need, to include some of the certification requirements that we discussed this evening. So like I say, these are going to be initiatives that we just feel like we've got to have a concerted effort and very intentional focus going forward in the future. And then goal 4 is really about the SEL development and whole child development. We do want to develop a communication plan in and around streamlining our communication efforts about the programs available to parents, families, and particularly our students, as well as initiating branding associated with Northside ISD. The other bullet that has been added, like I say, is a comprehensive, fair, consistent discipline management program to be implemented across all levels in the district, implemented with fidelity to support educators. I think it's very evident, and just speaking with many of our teachers, the need to feel supported from a campus administration, but from a discipline management program and going forward. So those are the two, like I say, additional bullets that we've added with Goal 4. Again, this is not necessarily comprehensive and far from complete, but we wanted to go ahead and begin the dialogue conversation, just seeing that we're about 6 weeks away from really gearing up and getting ready to start the school year, which is hard to believe. So again, information, I welcome feedback via email or a phone call, individual trustee phone call, and then we'll begin to work to put together another draft as a result of that feedback in putting together and establishing board superintendent goals. And then, of course, we're going to look forward to scheduling our Team of 8 training board retreat.
Good. Thank you, Dr. Kraft. And Trustee Lopez?
Thank you, Bobby. Dr. Kraft, thank you on that. I like that presentation. It's really, I'm seeing some good stuff on here that I really like and look forward to giving input. One of the questions that, and it came up and it surfaced in one of the classes in the Summer Leadership Institute when it came to one of the school districts that were working on how they can show more support to the teachers, not only with discipline. What they also mentioned is that they themselves looked at and were looking at how they could, with technology, meaning the phones. You know, at what point in time do they say, hey, this is where we take the phones away? I'm not saying take the phones away, but I'm just saying they made that decision as part of a goal to help lower the, create more attention, focus on education, and then reduce some of the, I want to say social media, whatever it is that occurs, right, disruptions. And I don't want to specifically focus on one form or another, but the goal was to help that child focus and dealing with the social, emotional, and saying, hey, let's get to this. And part of that goal was getting rid of the cell phones and having that hard discussion with parents and students and saying, hey, if we want to improve, these are the challenges that are coming ahead, we're going to have to limit some things. So could that be one of those possible items that we look at in the future? I mean, I'm thinking to us as my colleagues here, would that be one of the things that we would want to look at and possibly challenge as a goal for us to say, hey, along with all of these strategies, let's include something like that too. So I wanted to open that up and kind of see what your thoughts are.
Yeah, that's a very warranted point and definitely worthy of discussion. And I'm going to probably date myself a little bit from an administrative experience. eliminating or prohibiting the use of cell phones. Again, I'm going to go back 13 years. At one time, we had a administrative procedure in place that cell phones could not be visible, and if they were, teachers took them up, and then students actually paid a fine at the end of the day, or the parents of the students paid a fine at the end of the day. That quickly changed. That procedure didn't even stay in place for a semester, simply because that's all that was being done. It's just the process and logistics of reissuing phones and dealing with upset individuals, and so I don't know that these programs where students are required to kind of lock their phone into a vault that's outside the classroom, like a phone depot. I think logistically there would be some definite challenges that we would need to work through. And what we don't want to do is we don't want to create so much administrative burden, and really both from campus administration but also the classroom teacher administration, that's all we're doing is policing and trying to chase cell phones. Now, that being said, I do think it's important that teachers are empowered to determine when cell phones should be out, i.e. utilization of technology on a project or during the instruction for that class period. And like I say, perfect example, taking an exam, independent research, what have you. They need to have the flexibility and, like I say, the empowerment to be able to tell students, direct students, to put the phones away, secure them in backpacks. But I guess the prohibition of devices, particularly cell phones, coming to school, that's going to be a pretty tough one to police at this point.
And I understand that, and I think that's a good discussion. I think that's a discussion that we need to have as a board, as a district, and say, what are we focusing in on, right? What are we gonna, what's a priority for us, and what are some of those distractions that we can look at and say, hey, you know what, this is one of those things, and how do we mitigate for that? I think because that's going to be important. That's going to be key to the success for our kids in the classroom and to success for our teachers. That's one less thing that they're having to manage, right? But I think also, like you said, how do we implement it? How do we inform it? And I'm not saying we have to do it now. I'm just saying we've got to have those discussions, and how do we roll it out and be informed and start having those conversations with our parents, with our staff, and with our teachers. So that was just an option, but that should be one of those components that we look at in the future as a strategy to, especially if we're being held accountable. And this is one of those things that they're coming down on us, and it's prioritizing, so thank you very much. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Trustee Freeman?
Yeah, thank you. I had actually pushed my button, and Dr. Kraft was saying that, because I had a couple things to add, but I'll go ahead and email you, and then we can have the discussion later on. So I have a couple additions, and then maybe one I want to bring back.
Okay. Trustee Harrell?
No, questions were answered. Thank you very much.
Trustee Sadania?
Since we have our technology guru sitting back here, do they make some kind of pockets that can be put in each classroom where the kids can put their cell phones in there when they come into class?
They do.
And have you heard anything about that piece?
Yeah, ones for the shoes.
Yeah. But there's something about some kind of special ones that they make that they either are like chargers or that they're it turns off the phone or something and they can't have it. Is there anything that you all know about that would help? Because I know that teachers are dying over all these phones, even when they have them in their pocket. The minute that it makes a noise, the kid has to quickly look. Well, as well as I do, the minute you look at your phone, you have already lost focus on what the teacher is saying. So even if they're silent, it's still a disruption for the student.
there's certainly cabinets available, those that can charge and do all those things. I think it would just be a matter of what the district would like to do and what kind of budget we'd like to put forward towards that.
Yeah, because I don't want it to be a chore that teachers have to deal with, you know. I just wondered if there was something out there that would work for something like that. Thank you.
Yeah, Trustee Freeman, yeah.
Yeah, I can't decide whether I want to add to this conversation or not because we weren't going to go through discussion, I didn't think. But if we start talking about restricting cell phone use and taking cell phones away from kids, we need to bring parents in on this discussion because safety issues that have occurred and just various things that have happened in our schools, I think if any of our parents are listening to this conversation, we're all going to start getting emails tomorrow about taking cell phones. So I just think if we have to have that conversation, or if we need to have that conversation, Dr. Kraft, we need to have parents on that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And again, having two students in the district, it did not used to be as much of a concern as whether or not they didn't have a cell phone or really the ability to be able to communicate. I think that from a parent perspective, that's a little bit different in today's day and age. I need the ability, and I know that Chalon needs the ability to be able to reach out. Where are you? What's happening? So I think that's a very warranted point. This is a much larger challenge than just do we tell students, our direct students, to leave telecommunications cell phones at the house.
Or in their backpacks.
Or in their backpacks. And that's what I think. I think there's maybe a happy medium where, the teachers are empowered. They have the ability to determine when and how cell phones are either utilized or even visible, that we might be able to strike that balance between cell phone policing, managing, and again, ensuring that the fidelity of classroom instruction is not interrupted. So,
okay.
Probably more of a policy
Yeah.
conversation.
Good. And some of the experience you described, we had, if I recall, we were in the same situation years ago too. We had a policy at one time, and we quickly had to change out of that, where cell phones were not allowed, et cetera, because of administrative feedback and some other things you brought up. So, but still worth the discussion now. Okay. I did have one other question for the board on the as you're reviewing the policies and your thoughts on this. And we haven't done this before. But our board superintendent goes, as written, it really is written for superintendent actions, if I can say it that particular way. And then we use that as part of our evaluation assessment. The question I have before the board is, do we want to think about having something separate as just what we're going to do as a board? And what I mean by that is I'll use some of the community ones, for example. Do we want to say, separate from what we have the superintendent doing, we want to say the board, we're going to get out and be more involved in the community and some of the other areas. Something to think about. We haven't done that before. And again, it would have to be separated because we can't evaluate the superintendent on what we're doing, but just a consideration as we're looking at these. Okay. And Trustee Harrell.
So food for thought. I'm going to have to think on that because I've always had a hard time separating us out of a team of 8, so I'm going to have to think about that. But I was trying to get Jessica Weaver real quick because while you were sharing those, I was thinking, how could we gather information or data in a variety of forms that tells us we've been making progress or we're making impact. And so I was on a committee last week for the mental health in Bexar County, and the compliment was given to someone in Northside. I can't remember his name. He's like this masterful accountability person that collects a variety of data in Northside around social emotional learning, which is always real fluffy and funny to try to say, are we making a difference with kids' self-regulation behaviors at campuses? And I can't remember his name. I wrote it down in something else, but somehow it's like Jewel or it's a really neat name like that.
Yes, it's a Spanish name, and he's fantastic. He's been in the position less than 6 months, and so he's working with some of the other program evaluators. And so either he or one of the others were using some ESSER funds to fund that particular position so that we can program evaluate some of the ESSER initiatives in the social and emotional learning space. So yes, we do have that rolling.
So is his name like Jewel or?
It's like, yes, but they're
It's-
like Eduardo.
It's
I
really
can't
a
pronounce it
beautiful-
correctly. It's a beautiful name, but
So,
yes. That's who I think you're talking about.
Yeah, as we move forward, I would love input from someone like that to help us, because we've always, we've said, oh, we'd love to have every middle school have clubs after school, because we know how valuable kids belonging to something is at elementary, and we have opportunities at high school, but middle school, this was years ago. But then how do you measure the number of clubs or, whatever? But to have some insight around that would really help.
Well, those
They
are.
do that, yeah.
No.
Well, some of those kinds of measures, and I do
Those
think
are the real easy
an
ones, like how many
offline.
kids participate. That's how we
Right,
looked
right.
at it. But is it really, I'm looking at impact.
Well, because you'd
Is
have
it
to say,
making-
is it making them more confident?
Yes.
Is it, well,
Did-
and I think those
is
would
it
be great
attendance related?
conversations in academics, because I agree. I think we would need some other folks around the table who are in that space, looking at, not only kind of the black and white data of participation numbers, attendance, that kind of stuff, but then the other measures that we get from Panorama.
Right.
Along those particular categories.
Because I think that's the hard part of selling things like this in Austin is.
What are the measurables?
What are the measure, I mean, yeah, we, and everybody knows it, they know it, but it's hard to report out in data. So I'd like to kind of keep that mind frame as we look at the goals, like, then how do we know, kind of thing, and impact, right? Or is it making a difference with kids? So, I'll check my other notebook and find out what his name is, but you already know who it is. Great, thank you.
Good, thank you. And if I can take it a step further, based on sort of my earlier comment, and actually to me, it's more important to even know later. Just because something impacts a child now, I want to know, okay, later on in life, did that actually make a difference for them or not? And how do you do that too? So I'm with you on that. Here, I would say one thing, Trustee Earl, think of it this way, a little bit differently. It doesn't really, I don't think it was necessarily separating us by us having the board ones. To me, it adds to it. Because to me, my concern was we don't really have anything that we have to do action-wise to support those goals. And what I'm trying to say is maybe we should too. That's what I was getting at.
I
And
gotcha.
It changes things, but yeah.
But that's kind of cool. Does Jewel Saucedo sound familiar? Any relation, David? Jewel Saucedo.
That's familiar, and I'm also thinking of
He's
another
under
one that
Kim.
has
He's under
Eduardo.
Dr. Ridgely, yeah,
Oh, you found them.
yeah.
Oh, this one I'm thinking of is in continuous improvement.
Okay.
That works with our program evaluators.
This one definitely, because Dr. Ridgely's part of that committee with me. So, Jewel Saucedo. You don't forget
We'll
Jewel.
get the right people around the table.
All right. Any other further comments, questions? And again, these will be coming, this is just the beginning dialogue.
It is.
So,
And like I say, we'd like just like I say to remind our trustees to provide input, feedback, dialogue as we get closer and closer. Like I say, to the July 25th meeting.
That's right. That's right.
So that's when we'd really like to try to have them refined in front of the board for consideration, simply because this will drive a lot of our district improvement, campus improvement planning processes.
Okay. And directly to you, any comments?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep,
All
please.
right. Thank you. Okay, again, this one was, I guess right now we are just doing discussion on it, and we'll wait for July 25th for potential approval. So next we have our board committee assignments. And I think we've already enacted these in terms of implementation-wise, but we haven't ratified in terms of the board, so that's the purpose of this one. So it is scheduled for action. Any comments, questions? Is there a motion? Trustee Freeman?
Yeah, Mr. Blunt, I would move approval of the board committee assignments.
All right. Motion and second. Any further discussion? Now it's been moved and second that we approve the board committee assignment positions, and notice it also includes the chair. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, state nay. Okay, motion carries. And next one is our consideration of our safety and security committee representatives, and I assume we're doing this now on a annual basis? And
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
So we have obviously the opportunity for 2 trustees to serve on the Safety Security Committee, and so we'd like to offer this up for your consideration and potential action this evening as we, again, prepare the calendar for our upcoming meetings for the 23-24 school year.
In my understanding, the way y'all did it the prior year was a president and one other board member.
Correct.
Who chose to be.
Correct.
It was Ms. Freeman and Ms. Chumley. Yes, sir.
So I don't mind. I did go to a meeting a couple of weeks ago in the interim, just in case, but, oh, go ahead.
Well, and I think the board president is required to
Required?
serve on the
Okay.
committee.
Correct. Which was why Ms. Freeman was on. And as trustees, you chose to have someone else, which was Ms. Chumley last year.
Okay. So is there anybody else that would like to serve on safety and security? Okay. David would? Okay. Good. So so what we'll need to do is then, approve the list we have before us. And then, the 2 that added be, well, the president's there already, and we'll add, trustee Salcido to it also. Correct? Make sure we got that correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So do I have a motion to come before us? Okay, Trustee Harrell?
You want me to move or nominate? I move that we approve, okay. I move that we approve, Mr. Saucedo as our safety and security, board representative on the committee.
And then say, the overall.
The overall.
others underneath, yeah.
Mr. Blunt.
And who?
Mr. Blunt.
Oh, I don't want to do Mr. Blunt. I don't know.
I'm glad you- We have a history.
Joking. And Mr. Blunt as part of the committee too.
All right, motion, thank you. Joe did that quickly, thank you, Joe. You're all right. Anyway, so move to second, that we approve as, as stated. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, state nay. All right, motion carries. Okay, so next we have our TASB resolutions. And,
Yes, sir. So I think you've had the opportunity, hopefully, to review the TASB resolutions that we have gone ahead and submitted to TASB. They've promised to hold these resolutions until they are considered by you this evening. And so, like I say, they have this draft. I don't believe there's been any feedback. I think they indicated they all looked appropriate. When I say they, it's Grover Campbell and
Docs.
Dots,
It was
Gonzalez.
actually,
Yeah.
it was actually Whitney who had ours, but
So like I say, these are for your consideration, formal ratification, consideration this evening. If we need to pull any back, we'll be glad to do so tomorrow.
Trustee Freeman?
yeah. I was just going to comment. Thanks for putting this together.
Kelly Rosti she worked her magic. So
Okay, good job. And I heard some really good things regarding TASB. We will not get any feedback. We would not anticipate any feedback until after the board meets at the end of July. So we'll hear, and it might be in the interim that some of these could be duplicative of another district who submitted, but we'll hear that as we go forward before the TASB board meets at the end of July. So more to come, but this is good.
But did anybody have any comments or questions or? Yeah, Trustee Harrell?
So, and I'm trying to find it. I guess I was looking at the original one. There was, I know, and you guys keep hearing this same record, but there, and maybe you can help me find it, but the school safety, the best practices for school safety, I think also needs to include either mental health or social emotional support, some sort of, we can't just have the hardening of schools and, you know, the badges and things like that. We need it, in my opinion, and of course it's just my opinion, in tandem with mental health, social emotional support. And so I had made it a recommendation, I believe it was for number 3, where it said TASB advocates for full funding of best practices related to school safety, and either mental health or the light version of that is social emotional supports. and opposes state prescribed safety requirements that do not include appropriations to cover the cost. Just maybe 2 or 3 words there, and then maybe a one-liner, and I'm sorry, I know Kelly, you worked really hard on this, but maybe a one-liner that kind of says, if we are proactive and preventative in nature in our schools with mental health and social emotional learning, we might not have to have all these school safety issues with, you know, the hardening of our schools. So anyway, that's, you've heard my soapbox, but it's also my heart, so I need to say it in line with number 3.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Because what I was going to suggest, Dr. Hall, if you'd like, you could make the motion and then to approve the resolutions and then add what you just stated to it.
Okay.
Would that be fine, or?
With the proposed amendment?
Yeah, with the proposed amendment, yeah, which we'd capture.
Okay.
Yes, it would be approved. Oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Sullivan, you have, I was going to say, so you would say, unless somebody else has something else, move to approve the TASB resolutions, you know, as identified with the amendment that you stated to it.
To go 3.
So do we want to discuss it, though? Because I want people to
it's
be
fine.
comfortable with either the use of mental health or social emotional.
Carol, I believe this is what we sent recently, but if I'm not mistaken, mental health is in one of the TASB resolutions.
It has been, but it wasn't in this one.
No, it
So I
was
think
not.
consistency is important, and I think over time, if enough people see it repeated in context of a goal or a resolution, it might.
Didn't we have a deadline date, though, to
We're good.
submit?
We're fine. We can send that in.
Okay.
We talked to him about it. We're fine.
And I'll rely on Ms. Freeman to clarify if I'm mistaken, but these are additional resolutions. So there are the original voted on, TASB delegate approved resolutions.
Yeah, and I think my point is, if it's together with school safety, right, it makes sense. And I did put it on the draft, but I don't know how if that was shared or not, because I got the draft and I added it, but I don't know where it went after that. So that could be on me to not share it with. Anyway.
Okay, we can
Yeah.
definitely look at it.
I was just looking through the TASB advocacy agenda prior. I don't see that mental health associated with any of the safety resolutions as I just glance over this page by page, that were in effect last year. So I don't see any harm in I think it's a good idea to put it in. I would, do you need a motion?
Oh, well, she
Do
can
you
make
wanna
that,
discuss
yeah.
it?
Yeah, to make the amendment, yeah. Let me add one other, and tell you another reason why I think it's important to do that and add it here. I can take, I'm pushing through other avenues, some disciplinary type resolutions, and we're trying to do the same approach. So, a lot of what we do is after, et cetera. Why don't we deal with upfront that aspect? So I think if we have it here, it reinforces that importance, and like I said, it'd be consistent with what we're trying to do more on the discipline side of the house too, to help out more up front. So I like the idea.
Okay.
Others? Okay.
What was the wording that you were suggesting?
I think originally I put mental health, but I know some people aren't as comfortable, but it is your mental health and wellness.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I've had kids say, why do you call it social emotional learning? It's mental health. It's
My thought would be we need to call it mental health because SEL has some negative connotations, unfortunately, by some people, and because they just don't understand. I think because they don't understand it. But I think the mental health is good text.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay,
Trustee
so I move that we approve the 2023 Northside Advocacy resolutions with and a number 3 amendment to include best practices related to school safety and mental health, and opposes state prescribed safety requirements that do not include appropriations to cover the cost.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion second. Any further discussion? All right, it's been moved and approved that we approve the TASB resolution as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed state nay. Good. Motion carries. Good, thank you all.
Thank you.
All right. That takes us to future agenda item. We did have one we've already discussed for the academic committee. Dr. Kraft?
Yes, sir. So it's hard to believe, but we'll be looking already into the month of July. We know that we're going to have, or we hope that we're going to have certified values. In fact, they're going to be due on the 25th, so we'll be bringing forward a much clearer picture as to where we're going to be with fiscal year 24 budget. Of course, if there are any updates, pertinent updates as a result of any special session or legislative action, we'll be sure to include that update. One of the things that came up with the last building committee was taking a look at our block natatorium facility. So I'm going to be sending out a pretty in-depth presentation and then following up with trustees this week in regards to some of the proposals, if you were not on the building committee this past Monday, yesterday. Yesterday. Apologize. So like I say, the budget, near final budget will be presented, and of course, we'll make sure that we publish all the notifications appropriately with our local advertising, and then there will probably be a few more appointments, administrative appointments that we'll need to bring forward. Hopefully, this will be maybe the near last round.
Never ends, sir, but it'll.
So,
hopefully the list's much shorter, Mr. Glendo. And then any other items, like I say, I know we've got a little bit of runway before we get to the 25th, but definitely a legislative update and, of course, a budget update for this meeting.
Good. Any other needs or requests for a future agenda item? Okay. So, so that completes this portion of the open meeting. If we can we stay, we just have appointments in one other area. Are we gonna have the item B also, potentially?
Yes, sir.
Oh, we are, okay.
Yes,
So
the
we just
security-
have those.
safe
If we,
security.
if we could stay here, that'd be great. Okay. So, yeah, that's fine. So the Board of Trustees, beginning at, we need about 5 minutes, 8:03. So 8:03 will convene a closed meeting in accordance with Texas Government Code sections 551071, 551072, 551073, 551074, 076, 082, 084, 084, and 089. The Board of Trustees on June 27, 2023, beginning at 8:36, will convene an open meeting. Is there any action to come before the board? Is there a motion? Trustee Freeman.
I move that we approve the administrative appointments as discussed in executive session.
Second.
All right, move second. Any further discussion? Move second. We approve the administrative appointments as discussed in closed session. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, state nay. Motion carries.
Thanks.
Good. Thank you all.